All right, good morning, everyone. We're going to get this meeting kicked off in the interest of being punctual and on time. It is 9:30. Sorry, I'm skipping ahead. It's 9:30. And Jared has informed me that it looks like we have a quorum. So that is fantastic. So this is our call to order. The quorum has been established. And then we will just do very brief introduction. So I am Diana Rumsey. I am from the Independence Center. And then I'll just look around. It looks like Chelsea, you're next on the Hollywood Squares.
Hey everybody, Chelsea Gondek. I'm the Director of Planning and Mobility for the Colorado Springs Downtown Partnership.
Fantastic. And Danette, or I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong.
You said it correct. I'm Danette. I work for Goodwill as a day program and residential program manager.
Wonderful. And Daryl?
Yeah, I'm also with Goodwill, but run I'm the manager of the Good Wheels program at Goodwill.
Fantastic. And everybody knows the world famous in Colorado, Jared, but Jared is here as well. Kristen.
Hey everyone, I'm also with Goodwill. I'm glad that Daryl and Danette can be here today too. And I'm the business development manager at Goodwill.
Fantastic. Mark. No, perhaps Mark has stepped away. Paul?
Hi, my name is Paul Spots. I'm with the Independence Center.
Fantastic. And then Mark, I think I saw you come off mute.
Oh yeah, I came off mute. My name is Mark Bowers. I'm with Fountain Valley Senior Center. I'm the executive director.
Fantastic. Good morning. And Valerie.
Good morning. I'm Valerie Anders with Silver Key. I'm the CFO.
Wonderful. Well, welcome everyone. Good morning. It's going to be a warm day. So I'm going to, for one, enjoy the air-conditioned PPACG building that I'm currently in. Just looking at the agenda as it stands, do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Kristen Amundsen, motion to approve.
Fantastic. And do I have a second?
Daryl Holsander and I move to approve.
Okay. Do I hear any opposition to the agenda as it currently sits? No, hearing nor seeing none. Can I get a vote to approve the agenda as it currently is? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, I see some thumbs up. Fantastic. All right. Jared, I will rely on you. Are we good? Okay, we are good. Fantastic. All right, and then we move on to the approval of the minutes from the June 27th meeting. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes from June 27th?
Kristen Amundsen, motion to approve.
Okay, fantastic. And do I have a second?
You have a second right here.
Wonderful. Fantastic. All right.
Sorry, Deanna, I want to mention I did not have my ducks in a row to get Daryl's official letter. So
Okay.
I don't know if is he considered a voting member yet for Goodwill? I'm not sure. He would be our other representative, but I didn't know if you had to have that letter signed and ready to go.
Here's Melissa to answer that question.
Yeah.
Yes, ideally we would have that in hand. So we'll make note in the minutes that Daryl has done that. But thanks, Kristen, and we'll just wait for your letter from Goodwill to add him to our membership officially.
Okay, yep. I'll send that
Thanks.
later today. Just wanted, I know you guys are very official, so I wanted to make sure.
We try.
Thanks.
All right. So on the minutes, so I believe we had a motion and a second. Is that accurate, Jared? I got a little sidetracked.
So I would recommend, since Daryl, that would technically have to go through the board for.
So then I need another second.
Correct.
Okay, so I need another second.
Valerie Anders will second.
Okay, fantastic. All right, so we have a motion and a second to approve the minutes from the June 27th meeting. Do I have any opposition to that approval? No, seeing none. Okay, so all in favor of accepting the minutes as they stand from the June 27th meeting, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Fantastic. Do I have thumbs up and or confirmation? Okay, I see thumbs up. Fantastic. All right. Jared, are we good to move on? Okay, I also have a thumbs up from Jared. He keeps me honest. All right, fantastic. All right, public comments and presentations. Do we have any public comments?
So I'll ask anyone, but I believe everyone is either a current or pending committee member. And so that would be any comments from those individuals would be during the general discussion at the end.
Okay.
I'm not seeing anyone else online, but if you are not a member and would like to make a comment, please use the raise hand function. While we're waiting for that, we did not receive any advance requests for public comment, and we did not receive any written submissions for public comment that would have been distributed to the committee. And as I have gone through that spiel, I don't see any hands raised, so I think we can proceed.
Okay. Any action items? No. Okay. Moving right along. Any membership appointments? I know that there was a conversation about Daryl, but it sounds like we're going to be getting a letter forthcoming. So that will be fantastic. Any other membership appointments?
I'll make a comment. So gosh, last month and for a couple of meetings prior to that, we had Lois Landgraf attending from the Resource Exchange. And she was then appointed to be the chair of the TRE board. So she is in the process of finding a replacement for herself and was not able to get that to happen for this meeting, but stay tuned. Hopefully we'll have potentially a TRE staffer attending the meetings going forward. So we'll be looking forward to that coming in the near future.
Fantastic. And Lois will be missed. All right. Community guest and provider presentations. Nope. All right. So then we will move on. Oh, you know what? We typically have like an opportunity to share. Oh, that's later on. Okay, got it. I'm like, where is the information sharing component? It's one of my favorite parts. They're all my favorite parts, but that's definitely one that brings me joy. Okay, so no provider presentations. We're moving on to item number 8, which is the big discussion for the day, which is about day program transportation, the needs assessment data, what sites are doing day programs, changes, and etc. Okay, so I will kick it off and let people go from there. Oh, okay. Perfect.
So
Luke, do you want to introduce yourself really briefly, since it looks like you've joined us?
Oh yeah, I'm Luke with the Town and Monument Planning Department. I've been to these meetings before. I just showed up late this time. Sorry.
No, you're totally fine. We're happy to have you. Thank you so much. Okay. All right.
So this is Melissa, and I'm going to go back and take a look at my computer and see if I can track down some of that needs assessment data. This came from the work that Laura Cruz had done quite a while ago that led to kind of doing the on-demand pilot program. We did want to kind of revisit that a little bit as part of this conversation, but I do not have that in front of me. So I am going to step into my office and kind of take a look on our P drive here. And it looks like Jared was able to find that, I think, for us. So scroll down a little bit there, Jared. Let's see what the date is on that. Yep, that looks like that's it. So let's, part of this conversation is really an opportunity to kind of revisit kind of the time during COVID and how transit evolved and changed during that time, and how the region is adapting now that COVID is kind of over. we really did lose two, if not a few other really important transit kind of resources during COVID. And consequently, that has led to changes with, Fountain Valley and Vida, Silver Key kind of picking up additional ridership as a result of losing some of the day program providers. So we wanted to talk about that a bit. But before we jumped in, hopefully we can kind of take a little note through some of these findings that were done. And so it looks like we have the report overview up. I'm going to let people just kind of take a read through that quietly here for a minute or so. Oh, great. Jared is looking for the summary. All right, so some of the needs that were highlighted here, especially kind of for El Paso County. We do not have, I don't think Diana Van Auken, she was in a meeting, another meeting here today. So Teller County, not here, but that's kind of okay because most of the impact from the changes were really El Paso County. So I'm going to let people take a read through some of these needs that were highlighted in these couple of paragraphs. Jared, you might have to go back up. I didn't get a chance to read it. Thanks. And Paul, we can email a copy to the MCC of the study. So again, just a couple of highlights from that. The reminder that a lot of transit revolves around medical needs and that there's a gap for the kind of social interaction and personal errand needs that need to get done. A lot of it gets focused on getting to medical appointments. Great, thanks, Jared. So any comments from folks online or Chair Rumsey at this point in time about some of the things that have been read as hopefully reminders, because we did see this quite a long time ago, but so it's good to kind of get a refresher here. Any comments?
I would say for me, the thing that continues to stand out is that it's pretty clear that the community members are really asking for transportation so that they can maintain a quality of life that is equivalent to their age peers. And so I think it behooves us as a committee to really take that into consideration and be very mindful and intentional about how we're planning transportation and coordinating transportation and building systems that truly allow for people to have a quality of life that is equivalent to their aged peers.
So as people are reading through other things that are kind of standing out to folks, I know for me, I think the reminder that we have a growing population on the north side of our region and the need to look at, kind of transit up on that side. This was a good reminder for me on that level. Other things people are seeing.
I know that one of the conversation pieces is around education around providers. And I think there's a real opportunity that we can take advantage of in terms of who would be tasked with that, and what might that look like, because there have been really successful programs in the past that this region has used to educate community members about some of their transportation options. So I think that's definitely a conversation worth revisiting, and potentially reviving and revamping to meet, to your point, Melissa, the growing needs of the community. So.
Other comments from folks? So kind of hearing none, I'll kind of take a step to transition us into the conversation about, just kind of the changes in transit during COVID and then after COVID. So as we realize that some of the things that are mentioned here today are just kind of an offshoot from this study of, the reminder that we have pretty robust needs in our region that led to the kickoff of the on-demand pilot, which is coming to a close as a pilot, but will be continuing as a service with Envita, and funding that Laura was able to secure to continue that program. So that's a really great opportunity that we've been able to secure for at least the next year, and for some individuals. So we're happy for that. But that said, one of the pieces that we've continued to kind of realize again is just that there have been changes. And with the day programs that were happening, especially for people with disabilities who normally would go to a day program and had transportation provided to them to the day program, that has evolved. So special kids, special families, they, kind of shut down their transportation program during COVID. Goodwill changed theirs over and they're here today. And so if it's all right, I'd like to welcome Daryl and Danette and Kristen as well to just kind of share a little bit about kind of what happened for you guys during COVID and some of the changes that you guys initiated during that time and are continuing to do now. So I'd like to turn it over to one of the three of you guys, if that's all right.
I can take that question on for Goodwill. During COVID, we did have to shut down for about 2 to 4 weeks because of state regulations and federal regulations. And then when we were able to reopen, people were scared to come back. So we had to open slowly. We had, we could only have a limited capacity. We had to do 2 split shifts to make sure we could get everybody in that wanted to attend. And with that, it was just not feasible to bring back transportation for, 10 to 20 clients at the time, because most of them were able to ride Metro Mobility or their providers would bring them in. And as we've reopened fully, it is just hard now to find the staff, that it's hard to find staffing for any position, but let alone someone that is comfortable driving a 14-passenger van. Now with the rate increases for Medicaid, we are looking at opening a 3rd route for Goodwill to get more of our clients in, but this is only going to be for clients that are not currently in our services or at potentially losing day program services because of transportation. So we're not opening it up to current clients that are already have Metro Mobility or riding Silver Key or Envita. it is to get those new clients in. Because we do have 2 routes currently that is split between our Voyages Day program and our Possibilities Day program, which are housed at 1460 Garden of the Gods Road. So we're trying, and once we pilot to see how the 3rd route is gonna go, we can potentially open one up for our Journeys location, which is off of Montebello Square Drive.
So Danette, you guys are providing transportation to Voyagers and Passage, your 2-day programs?
Yes, we're offering it to 2 of the 3.
Yeah.
We do have 2 routes. They are both full, and it's primarily to clients that don't are not like, so we offer services to our veterans, and their waiver does not pay for any like outside transportation. Like, we have to provide that transportation, or their family does. So it's primarily for our veterans, as well as clients that kind of live outside of that Metro Mobility service area. And so this 3rd route, we're going to continue to provide it for people that we're going to look at maybe shifting some clients around and maybe making like a central route. Since I know Envita has stopped accepting new clients, so it is harder for clients to now come to our day programs as well, because of that. Because we were between Metro and Envita, those were our primary services for transportation, but now we're going to try to do a central route. But we do have 2 routes, and we've had 2 routes, I want to say since 2021.
Thanks. And then clients have switched over. If they could ride Metro Mobility, they have started to ride Metro Mobility. So then they have picked up and started providing some services to day programs. Is that correct?
Yes. And Metro Mobility has, for the people that live in their catchment area, have provided transportation for our clients since we reopened. So it's just, it's really kind of that north area, and like Fountain and Peyton is where, they don't serve. So it's harder there.
And are you guys
sorry, go ahead.
Are you guys currently picking people up from the north side, Fountain and Peyton?
We do Fountain. We will meet people kind of at that Maverick off of by Black Forest Road in Woodman for Peyton, just because it is so like spread out there. But we do pick up people on the north side.
Okay.
And if clients are on the DD or SLS waivers, we can reimburse their providers on the mileage band. So at least they are getting compensated for their gas mileage if there's not a route out there, or they, like we have a client that lives in Penrose that comes to Journeys, and we reimburse her provider on the mileage band since it's in her plan. So we are able to at least help accommodate the gas price.
Great. Any comments, questions, thoughts to Danette? Otherwise, I'm going to move on to Metro Mobility next. But comments, questions, other folks?
I had a really quick question. So I've been trying to do some due diligence in preparation for this conversation. And in talking to some of the other day program providers, it's been mentioned to me that following the March and May memos from HICPUF, that providing transportation to and from programs became incredibly cumbersome. And that was the reason given to me why other day programs had discontinued their transportation that they had previously been providing, because the hoops became just too tall for them to jump through, and it wasn't worth it for providers who were doing transportation kind of part-time. So I just wanted to throw that out there and kind of get your take as to whether you also encountered those kinds of challenges, because as we delve deeper into this conversation, we're going to have very challenging conversations about the sustainability of the current transportation model as it sits. So I just wanted to ask you if HICPUF's decisions in 2022 about getting certification and credentials for providing day transport was part of the equation as well.
Not that I'm aware of. I know like we've kind of always like even before I think they switched over, it was under PUC. And so we did have like, you know, some other hoops to jump through with that because our providers had to, our drivers had to get physicals, and we, you know, we always have had our vehicles get annual inspections anyways, which goes for even our Goodwills program. And so we, you know, we've always kind of had steps in progress or in place. So like, so really when they switched some of that over, it wasn't as encumbrant for us because we already kind of had some stuff in place. We've had to kind of change some of those policies to make it to meet regulation, but I mean, we follow under a lot of different regulations, including CARF. So we're used to meeting regulations. So that's not as hard for us.
Thank you for that.
Other questions, comments? So I'd like to ask Jacob, can you comment a little bit around how transit changed with Metro Mobility kind of during COVID and now after COVID in terms of things looking same, looking different? What's your evolution been?
Yeah, so kind of alluded to earlier there that back during COVID, when it kind of first hit and the day program shut down for a bit, then came back on board, we were initially challenged, and I think to a certain degree still are, by the split in times. Like before, we kind of had this what we refer as the bat years, where it was 9 a.m., basically 8, 9 o'clock. We had this huge surge of people, then it would drop through the day, and then around 3 or so, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, we'd see that other end of the bat year go. It stabilized a little bit in terms of where it wasn't as severe, but it also meant that there was more need for more transportation throughout the day, and making those times were difficult. Having the vehicles wasn't as much of a challenge in terms of it didn't require additional vehicle use on our end, but it did mean that we had a harder time scheduling to make sure people weren't on the bus too long, weren't being picked up late. So we did see some initial challenges with that. As previous, and we were seeing around 45-46% day program travel in terms of our overall trip load. Looking over the last 3 months from April through June, that's right around 40%. So it seems to be an overall drop, but nothing significant there. We're still seeing anywhere from around 3,500 to around 4,000 trips in terms of the folks that are going to and from the day programs. So we're kind of seeing that rebound. Our trip total hasn't rebounded really to what it was pre-COVID. We're still not doing the same number of trips. So there is that kind of lost group of people that I'm trying to find, I suppose you could say. But that's a little bit of kind of how things have changed, I guess, during and now after COVID. Pre-COVID, our peak pullout, we were looking at roughly 41, 42 vehicles. And now we're like 31, 32. So, and that's not just the day program, that's just kind of all across the board in terms of what we're seeing. So
when you say 3,500 trips, is that per month, per day?
Yes, sorry, per month, yes.
Okay.
That's about what we're seeing for day programs. And in terms of the overall, we're seeing between 9,000 and 10,000 trips a month.
Okay. And besides Goodwill, what are some of the other day programs, if you happen to know off the top of your head, that you guys are transporting to?
So Goodwill is the main one. That definitely takes the bulk of it. Goodwill, and that's Goodwill Maine. Montebello takes a decent number, but our runner-up is Foundations for Successful Living. At least as of more recently, they're kind of our number 2 day program in terms of the number of folks that are going there.
And Foundations is run by a different organization, or is that a Goodwill program?
They're their own. They're a different organization. They're not a Goodwill program.
Well, okay. And at this point, are you guys running any folks that are part of the community intersections programs?
We do some up there. We're seeing around, give or take, about 200 or so trips to and from, and that's their the east location. So we're seeing some transportation out that way as well.
Okay. And then do folks have any insight or ideas to who picked up the transportation services for the folks that were in the special kids, special families, adult programs? and, the young adult work if they were getting rides. Can anyone comment on picking up those individuals?
Say we're still taking folks to special kids, special families.
Okay. Any other questions for Jacob or comments? So I think at this point, I'd like to ask Valerie with Silver Key if you have any comments, observations, if Silver Key has picked up transportation for any of those folks with disabilities. I know historically Silver Key is focused specifically on providing transportation for seniors. So some of those seniors with disabilities might be getting rides with you guys, but just kind of give us some insight about how your program is running at this point in time.
Sure. So we have picked up rides for Goodwill, and they are for seniors. I don't know about special kids, special families, if we picked up any of their rides or not. I can ask Troy about that. And I was saying, we don't, I'd like to know the difference between our personal rides and our medical. That would be helpful. I don't know those stats, but we're turning away almost 300 rides a month just from capacity. We've had some, we only have one part-time driver right now, but open, so we have filled those. But the other challenge with Goodwill is that you guys are keeping your door locked now. So we did have an issue with that someone, now it was our fault. We, we're door through door, and we took someone to the day program and dropped them off. And the door was locked, and we didn't know that first time. And so they didn't go inside. And I think they wandered a little bit before you guys knew that. So that was one thing that there was a change in Goodwill's day program that would have been helpful for us to have a heads up on that.
Can I comment on that?
Sure.
Our doors have always been locked. It keeps people, it's protection for our clients. Because we have a lot of people that think we're stores because we have Goodwill on the outside, and so they come in and want to see it. But it is something that all of our facilities became locked from the outside when that Planned Parenthood shooting started years ago. So it has been in place for a really long time. But
okay, so it's probably just a new driver. We have several new drivers that just didn't know that they needed to take them all the way inside. And sometimes clients seem very capable and confident, and our drivers don't know them yet. So
yeah, absolutely.
So, no, but yeah, I know that upset them. It upset our driver, so he felt bad. So, but yes, we have definitely increased our number of day program rides, and it's kind of first come, first serve with Silver Key, so it's challenging.
And again, you guys still are only serving those folks that are over 60, right? You haven't opened it up to people under that who have disabilities as well.
Not on a regular basis, but we don't hold, really strict to the 60. It's more like if they feel like they're a senior, we're going to provide them a ride if we have capacity.
Okay. Others, questions or comments for Valerie? Okay. And so Mark, down in Fountain, have you seen an impact on the changes in, kind of day program transit, or are you guys still kind of managing with your crowd down in the Fountain area?
We pretty much kind of do the Fountain Valley area. We do have a couple that we take to day programs, but those folks reside down in the Fountain area, and we do have a couple that we do serve. I'm going to say probably 3 or 4 that I can think of offhand, but they all do reside down in this area, and so 3 of them are seniors. One is not a senior but does have but does have disabilities. And so, and that's pretty much what we were serving before COVID. So we pretty much just kind of picked them up, and tried to serve them throughout COVID and have continued to do that after COVID. So we haven't really seen a growth in that. And really haven't had a request from this area either. So that's kind of where we're at with that.
Okay. Comments or questions for Mark with Fountain Valley? And so I do not see anyone from Invita. Correct me if I'm wrong. It does look like Diana has joined us. But before I go to Diana up in Teller County, I just want to turn it over to Deanna or Paul with the Independence Center, and any comments, words that you've heard, folks at the Independence Center talking about day program impacts. Any comments you guys have to share?
When I was riding with Invita, that was one of the major things that their dispatch and their drivers would always say, is that they have a big flux of day programs, and they were putting their day programs ahead of everybody else. And that was, you heard that all the time. And then up until now, I haven't run with Invita for a while. I went to Metro. And I hear it every now and then with Metro, but I know Invita was having a big issue with day programs, a lot of day programs, and then trying to provide rides for other people that were going to the doctors or going to work or whatnot.
Thanks, Paul. Any comments, thoughts for the Independence Center folks?
Just one, and maybe I heard, this is Jacob with Mountain Metro. I might have misheard you, Paul. I just want to make sure that it's understood that we do not put day programs ahead of other transportation. There is no pecking order in with Metro Mobility. It's all equal.
No.
Okay.
I didn't say that. No, I just said I know that you guys do that you've had that you do day programs as well, but I didn't say that you guys put them first, by no means.
Sounds good. Just want to make sure. Thank you, Paul.
Yep.
What I heard was that Invita potentially is kind of making sure that those folks who need to get to day programs are getting there. So Invita might be prioritizing day program transit folks. So, and without them here, we don't know that for sure. But I will mention myself that I have heard that as well. So again, it's important that the folks who are going to day programs get there, and we want them to have that opportunity for sure. But if that is impacting other riders in a way, that's kind of one of those areas of a challenge. It speaks to the AM and PM peak times that are impacting the region. And just, that's one of the challenges out there for sure. So Diana, up in Teller County, do you want to comment at all? Have you seen any day program transit issues that are happening in Teller County? Do you have people with disabilities up in Teller that are going to day programs in that area? This is something I know nothing about. Or are folks with disabilities in Teller County coming down to services in El Paso County? And I think it's Diana Van Auken, but maybe not. Yep, it is. Okay. But Diana's sound isn't working. Okay, so that's okay. So can anyone else, I don't know if Metro Mobility or Goodwill, if you guys have any insight about folks with disabilities in Teller County, and do they come to El Paso County for day programming?
For our day programs with Goodwill, they do. Usually their providers, bring them down, for programming. Like we have someone that lives by, like Florissant and stuff, and their
Wow.
family either meets the provider, or they bring them down into, program, because they're do community out in the day program, or day program is out in the community full time, so they don't really have like a base.
Mm,
But
Yep.
but we do have clients that, go to day program. We used to have clients that would work, with supported employment up there as well. So I do know they exist. I think just their providers are more accustomed to transporting them wherever they need to go, because most of their appointments are here.
Great.
And then from Metro Mobility, I'm not aware of anybody. I mean, I suppose I could, but I'm not aware of anybody using our services. We do offer to meet people within our service area if they wanted, but I'm guessing if somebody already came that far down into our service area, that they would probably just take the individual the rest of the way. So if there is somebody, I am unaware at this time, but there very well could be.
Thanks. And then Diana put into the chat that, their adult day program for seniors did close down over there in Woodland Park. And at this point in time, they can drive people to Colorado Springs who might be in a day program, but are currently not doing that. So, which I'm not surprised. That was kind of what I was thinking was the case, but I wasn't sure. So thanks for typing that in, Diana. So those comments and sharing from everybody on the call. I'm sorry, Invita's not here with us too. We'll follow up with them at a later date. What I wrote down as challenges and opportunities, there are issues, but I think kind of two things that we've talked about off and on already prior to today is just the struggle to find drivers. And then a reminder that we do have these AM and PM peak times that we need to get people to services. And so that would be a highlighted area when drivers are coming on, are there vans available, transit available, and then do we have drivers that could pick that up? And so I guess one of my questions is, if drivers were around, do we have enough vehicles that you could throw drivers into those vehicles and kind of potentially meet the challenges that happen, at that kind of 7 to 9 and then 3 to 5 peak time?
I mean, at the moment, we're working on getting some standby drivers, keeping them on a part-time basis and bringing them in for a couple hours just to make sure we have standby. So if we do get some, random calls saying, hey, I need to make the appointments or I need to come into a center, we can take care of that for them.
Other comments to that?
So Melissa, with the shortage of drivers and our vehicles, our first pickup is 8:30 and our last at the end of the day is 4:30. So we're really running 8 to 5. And vehicles are tough. We've ordered 3 new buses from CDOT, but with COVID, our clients don't want to ride on the buses. The buses are rough. I mean, it's not a real smooth ride, and they don't really want to be on the bus with other clients, or how that takes longer to pick up multiple people. So they really want us to be a taxi service. So, and ADA vans are super expensive. We've been looking for them, and I know that there's some other funding that we have. So we're looking if we could possibly get a waiver to purchase some used vans. So some used ADA with lifts that private people have owned, that, they got it and then maybe their loved one passed, that really usually are really low mileage, but that's hard to get waivers for used vehicles. And it feels, we can get those for around 40,000, where a new van with a lift is close to $70,000 to $80,000. It's ridiculous.
Hmm.
So we're in,
You know,
yeah,
I'm
our
sorry.
fleet is old, so we definitely could use more vehicles.
Go ahead, Paul.
I forgot, I was listening and thinking at the same time, and it just wasn't working for me.
All right. Well, Mark.
Yeah, Melissa, we've been discussing as a board as far as our vehicles go. We have an older fleet and we've been talking about what we're going to do with that. And we have run into the same problem. We've kind of spoiled the folks in regards to riding on the same vehicle with other people. We've discovered that about 90% of the last year and a half of the trips that we've taken have been one-person trips. And so trying to educate those folks and letting them know that, they may need to get back pre-COVID on having another person in the vehicle with them is really difficult, and they're not wanting to do that. So kind of piggyback on what Valerie says, we need to look at different types of transportation besides a bus that gets 8 miles to the gallon, and we're transporting one person across town and back. And so it's tough. It's tough with that. And again, the vans that we're looking at and those type of things are just they're expensive. And so it's a new world that we're looking at as far as transport. And so
Yes, I agree. And thank you, Mark and Valerie. And, I think we need to keep being reminded that it is a new world. And Paul?
So, see here, I'm seeing something here where everybody wants to ride by themselves. This pilot program is kind of like that, is what we're trying to do as far as on demand. It's for people with disabilities and the older population. And if we could just put into something like that, these people can get those single rides by themselves. I mean, it's an option that's out there right now. I understand the vans are expensive. Trust me, I just purchased one myself, and I spent almost $60,000 getting it, but I had to get stuff to put into it so I could drive. So that added another, 10, 15,000, whatever it was. But yes, I don't know. Maybe we can look into talking with United Access, who has these accessible vans, and maybe there could be a partnership there where you can get used ones. I don't know. That's just an option that's out there.
Thanks for that.
I do have a meeting with United Access on Thursday about rental vehicles, but I can talk to them about vehicles for sale as well.
Great.
And they can get those vans. They're a nationwide company. Like mine was shipped out of Oregon, and they have a website, and they're everywhere. I mean, it's just something to look into and talk to their manager down there, and see if there's any kind of way there could be some kind of partnership of some way, some form. I don't know.
I'm wondering if there's an opportunity for us to kind of do both things simultaneously. So one of the points brought up in the needs assessment was around education. And it occurs to me, having been on airplanes recently, and I am a fervent mask wearer. I have my mask wherever I go. And I do wear it on an airplane, that there might be an opportunity for us to pull the public health department in and have a conversation about just kind of educating folks on different ways that they can keep themselves safe if that's what's prohibiting them from feeling comfortable and taking larger passenger vehicles. Just kind of an option out there. Because again, I hear, people want to do it one by one by one. I don't know if that's necessarily a sustainable model. But, I'm certainly open to being educated if that is in fact something that we can do and pull off effectively for all the folks. So I just thought I'd put that out there.
And Diana says we have the same challenges with ridership. Definitely get used to riding alone. Depending on where the client is going, we share the ride or pick up individuals. They received ARPA funds to purchase a van, and they received it yesterday, it sounds like. So yay for that. So I am going to kind of move us on for the last 8 minutes. Looks like we have one more comment from Mark. Hold on, Mark, I'll circle back to you because I'm going to, and if you don't have it's probably Mark with his people in his office talking. So go ahead, Mark, share what you want to share.
Okay, just real quickly, what we're finding with that is not necessarily so much it's a concern about the mask wearing and that type of thing, but we're finding and people are saying, well, I don't want to wait for a half an hour in the doctor's office afterwards because I have things to do. And, or, I don't want to be there a half an hour beforehand or, those type of things. And, I can understand that, but it's also from a standpoint of it's more of me. And I don't want to be inconvenienced. And I think with the COVID thing, they weren't looking so much as it being a safety factor, but it was a factor of they get dropped off right around the appointment time and they get picked up sooner around the appointment time because our schedule had us doing that so we could accommodate more people. And so, and that's what we were hearing. That's what our drivers were hearing from that point. And so, certainly an education thing, could be the reason for that, but I think it's more of the on-demand thing. And so, and we'd certainly be open to the on-demand thing if we could make it work. And so we're certainly open to hearing more about the trial and that whole thing. But we've got to figure out some way that we can make that work to make it happen. So
with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Deanna for the last few minutes for people to give their own updates from their programs and regions. And our executive committee will kind of look over these comments and kind of look at what the next steps are here too. But go ahead, Deanna, for people to give some updates on what's happening now.
Fantastic. Well, as I said earlier, this is one of my favorite parts of the meeting. I love it all, but this is definitely one of my top. So just to let you all know, tomorrow we are kicking off our festival at the Independence Center. So please feel free to come by. There will be food, there will be beverages, there will be games, there will be all kinds of fun things to do and people to see. So by all means, if you have some time tomorrow, feel free to come on by. We are going to be doing that in the morning and then well into the afternoon. So I believe we're wrapping up around 2 or 3. Paul, can you correct me if I'm wrong?
I think it's from 10 to 2.
Okay, 10 to 2. Fantastic. Well, I will be there bright and early. So if you want to see my smiling face, I will be there at 8 a.m. So that's all the news that's fit to print from the Independence Center.
Saw
Anyone
joining
else?
for Mountain Metro. Don't recall if this was announced at the last meeting or not, but we're kind of wrapping up or coming on the end of our fall service change. Public comment was due on July 20th. So we received that, are compiling that and determining our final recommendation. Some of the changes include that we're looking to introduce Route 20 on Saturday and Sunday. This route would go between the terminal and Southgate Road along Nevada. It's one of our busy corridors on the weekends, and we found that the other routes that service that are 10 and 11, that they're having difficulty staying on time, and it's just overall a very, very busy route. So we propose this new route to kind of take up the Nevada corridor. It also pushes that area to 15-minute service if you're between the terminal and Southgate Road on Nevada. So get some additional services there. And that, once again, that's a weekend service. So it's a Saturday, Sunday is what we proposed for that. That's kind of the biggest change. A couple other smaller changes. We're looking at, there's a VA clinic just southwest of Austin Bluffs and Union. And we have an old stop there we used to use many years ago underneath the bridge. So if you're going along Union underneath the Austin Bluffs Bridge, the overpass there's a series of 2 old stops. We're looking to get those back up and going again for our Route 34 to service those so people can access that VA clinic. Our Route 37, which is the one that goes out to the airport, where we currently do 2 loops around Integration Loop, and we propose to get rid of one of those loops. This will also help with on-time performance and getting people to their transfer location at the Academy Hancock area. We got some feedback on that, so we're looking through some of those. And then finally, our Route 23 and 24 are, we're just doing a slight readjustment there, and they're making both their turns at the somewhat newly, it's been there for a little while, but the newly established roundabout at South Carefree and Tut. So there'll be a little bit of a routing change there for the 23 and 24. Those are some of the main service changes. And then also we're still in the middle of our free fare for better air initiative. That basically means free fares on both our fixed route service as well as our paratransit metro mobility service. In the month of June, we saw 314,000 passengers on fixed routes. So that actually beat out last year in the August. So we're finding some pretty good success from that. And we'll be continue to do that all the way through the end of August. So those are my updates.
I have to just mention, sorry, because time is short here, but I do want to say I have seen far more people sitting at bus stops. And so I'm not surprised to hear that number. And I am sad that I'm not one of those people riding the bus. But kudos to our community. I am just really impressed with the number of people I see at bus stops.
Anyone else have any updates? Paul, I thought I saw your hand, but maybe not.
Yeah, I was just gonna, I'm gonna respond to Mark through chat.
Perfect, thank you. Anyone else have any updates that they'd like to share, information sharing? All right, seeing and hearing none, are there any items for the next meeting? Okay. All silent, I will take that as a no. All right, well then, I believe we are okay to adjourn. Are we okay to adjourn? Okay, we are okay to adjourn. It is 10:30 and 23 seconds. So thank you so much, everyone, for your time this morning, and I look forward to seeing you all soon. Thanks. Stay cool out there. Bye-bye.